Hi, I have a new friend with me, Kathy Bates. She is a rock star in the industry. It's amazing to me how much she's done in such a short amount of time. And she is one of the ladies in the Powerhouse Sisterhood Suite. So we're going to hear from her today, and I'm super pumped. Kathy, where start us off with where you live in the world.
I currently live in Columbus, Ohio,
Okay, cool. How long have you been there?
about 2 years.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Okay, we're going to kick it off with what is your favorite joke?
So, any kind of a pun. I am unable to hear something and not think of a pun that's related. And I do my best to keep my mouth shut and not say it, but I generally don't do very well with that. That's how my brain works. I hear puns, I think them, and then they just spill out of my mouth.
I feel like that's I feel like that's a skill actually, to be able to think that quickly and like connect the dots between something so fast. I don't have that.
It's a
Love it.
family thing, and we'll go back and forth on Facebook. Somebody will say something, and then another family member will say something, and then we can't. It's almost like, let's see who runs out of them first, back and forth. So I don't know if it's a skill, but it is definitely an inherited trait.
I love it. I feel like it's a skill.
It does help
Um,
with improv. I'll say that. I mean, I do a lot of
oh
improv,
yeah.
and that my brain does think that way. Sometimes I need to quiet my brain, but it does think pretty quickly.
I will say whenever I took improv, my brain was like on fire. It was just things very quick. So I probably need to get back into improv because it's amazing what unlocks in your brain from improv.
It is. It's like this heightened sense of awareness.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. We're going to talk more about that.
Okay.
Okay, tell us what all you do in the film industry.
So mostly act. I long story, but the shortened version is I got to know this writer who had written a novel, turned it into a screenplay, and she hired me to play one of the characters in it. Actually, she hired me to play the lead, and I talked her into giving me the supporting because I thought it was a better match. Which I don't know if that makes me smart or what it is, but yeah. So she wrote a short film of something that we are turning into a feature length film. So I essentially was a co-director. I did a lot. I did the casting for that. I did a lot of script editing. I'm kind of a soup to nuts on that project, and now I'm helping her with the feature length as well. But that was really my only experience in casting, directing, script writing, being a scripty on set while also acting. So it was a neat experience.
Oh my goodness. Imagine if you did have the lead and then you had to do all of that plus all the dialogue.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. When would you say that you officially started pursuing acting?
So film, I officially started pursuing July 21st of 2021. I did do a lot of theater growing up, and 20 years leading up to COVID, I was a fitness instructor and stood in front of a room with sometimes over 100 people putting on a pre-choreographed workout. I did all sorts of classes, but some of them were pre-choreographed. So it was in some ways a show. You had to get them to do the moves in the time while doing it yourself. A lot of oxygen consumption, so it's really good
Yeah.
for people. But then film, I was living in Hawaii. We moved there in 2020. I was a kayak guide there and a paddleboard instructor, knew nothing about film. One of the guys who I was training to do kayak tours told me one day that his dad was a stunt guy on film on the islands for years, and he was trying to get into it. And he said they just hired me to be in a scene of the new NCIS Hawai'i that's filming here. I didn't know it was filming there, didn't know anything about it. I'm like, oh wow, how cool. Well, 2 weeks later, I see a posting on one of my paddleboard Facebook groups saying, hey, they're looking for people to paddleboard in the back of a scene. And I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. Get paid to paddleboard. Okay. So I put in for it. I got booked. When I went to do my COVID test, this guy Gio was on the bus. He was there for his fitting. And I'm like, wow, wouldn't that be so cool if you and I were in the same scene? Thinking nothing of it. So 2 weeks later, or however long later it was, I'm on set, and they'd given us this like pay bump to bring our paddle boards. So I lug my paddle board to where we check in. And then they said, we don't know how to get the paddle boards to where we're filming. So we've rented them. So you'll still get your pay bump, but just leave them here, hop on the bus, we'll take you to holding. I get to holding, and there were supposed to be three of us who were paddle boarders. And when they came out to where are my paddle boarders, 5 hands go up. So I'm looking around thinking, all right, that's weird. They walk us over to the beach where the paddle boards are, and it was like a bad game of musical chairs. Three people run over and like claim them. And me and this other guy who was actually hired as a paddle boarder looking around like, I guess we're not in the scene. I don't know. So we went back to holding, and I was thinking, "Ugh, that stinks because I'm just not going to knock somebody over to be in
Right.
the scene." And the director comes out and he says, "I need two people who look beach ready." And the guy grabs my arm, throws it up in the air with his, because he was a seasoned background actor and actor. They brought us over, and the director said, "Look, you guys are going to start the scene. This is like a stunt scene. Somebody's going to come running around the building. So when I say action, you guys walk right towards me, and then the stunt guy is going to come in behind you." So, okay, all right, whatever. So he yells action. I start walking, and around me comes Gio, my friend, who just happened to be the stunt guy in this scene. And as I walked behind the camera, I'm looking at the monitor. I'm like, "Oh, well, this is what I'm going to do from now on. This is fantastic. I love this." So I finished that day. I was in two scenes, enrolled in acting classes, which were online at the time. So I was with an LA acting class. And it just so happened one of the guys who was in the beach scene, which was the second scene I was in my acting class online. So I got to know him and went from having never been on film to being in 13 episodes of NCIS Hawai'i, on Magum PI, two or three Hallmark movies, just a slew of stuff. And the rest is history. I've been just actively training and learning everything I can since then, and this is what I do.
Wow. How did you find the online acting class that you chose to do? Because there are so many of them.
There are the Scott Rogers, who I took classes with, has a Hawaii connection, and there was actually an instructor on island too. So we did them on Zoom, but they have since then gone back to in person. So Theo Kumbis, who was the Hawaii presence, he's doing in person ones there now, and Scott comes to the island a lot. He's actually, a lot of the movies that have filmed on island, he's been the on-site acting coach for, like The Rock and some other people who were in the movies that were filmed on island. So I just went with the people who I met on set that day and sort of asked around. They all said, "Oh yeah, he's great. He's familiar with what films here. He's got a lot of connection to people and casting directors." I was signed with an agent within a month. So, I mean, it just, things, I got headshots within a month. I mean, everything just went very quickly.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you find the agent?
Well, really, there's only one big one on island. So that made that
Okay.
really simple.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was with Scott Rogers and we had filmed some scenes, I had stuff to send to him. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Ah, wow. I love it. What a good start. Well, I was going to ask that, but we already talked about that. Okay. So what's one of the biggest struggles that you've had as an actor up to this point?
Hands down, it's definitely if you go for a job interview as a bank teller, they
Mhm.
will let you know when they hire somebody, and you know that you didn't get the job as a bank teller. As an actor, you submit auditions. It's sometimes just submissions, sometimes submissions with auditions. I probably have 20 out. Actually, between our last meeting and this one, I just filmed an audition, edited it, and sent it off, and I have two more to do tonight. It's just a constant, breaking down the character, getting really into it, giving it your all, and you send it off, and you often just don't hear. And there isn't an industry standard of, okay, well, if I haven't heard by then, I didn't get it.
True.
Sometimes if the deadline is 9 p.m. tonight, they've notified talent by noon the next day. Sometimes a week goes by and they haven't picked talent yet. So, it's like next month I could either be working 29 of the 30 days, or I could be not working at all, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But that is challenging, both schedule wise and just there are obviously some you really want, like you just feel like you nailed it. And I have learned through time not to take it personally.
Yeah.
I have a great story. I was just filmed a Lifetime movie a couple months ago, and I had read for three characters, really loved all my auditions, but one I thought I really nailed. And I didn't even, it hadn't gotten far enough along that I had given up on it yet.
Yeah.
And my agent called and said, "Hey, we got a call from this movie that you had auditioned for. It's for a different role. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Sure, yeah." So I wound up being in the scene with the character that I had read for. And
Oh,
when I was on set, we're now friends. She's actually thinking of joining the suite. She was great. I mean, it's not that my audition wasn't good. I just looked at her. I'm like, she just looks better for the role. I would, between the two of us, I would have cast her. So you can give it everything you have, and sometimes you're just not exactly what they're looking for. They find someone who is more what they're looking for. Especially, I play a mom a lot. You've got to match up with the whole family and that kind of thing.
mm-hmm.
So I don't take it personally at all, but it is just really hard to manage your life not knowing what you're going to be doing.
Right. And then trying to sort your schedule and like, okay, well, if I do book this, then yes, I can be free because this person already said that they would do this for me. Like it's a lot of coordinating that may amount to nothing in the end.
It is. And,
Which is
we
fine.
have to make money somehow. So I
Right.
dog walk and house sit, do things like that. And I was on set of a commercial 2 days ago. And while I was on set, my agent called and tried to hire me for next Wednesday. But I've agreed to help watch somebody's dog and her kids while she's out of the country. And I'm like, I'm committed to
Yeah.
that. Obviously, I'm going to do it. But things, it just works that way. I received 5 or 6 auditions for things that film next week that I can't do. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's the business. So
I know.
I
It
heard
really, really
somebody
is.
say, if your reason for acting isn't because there's nothing else I can see myself doing, then don't do it because it's a terrible business. It's
Yeah.
great business when you're on set and you're on fire and you're like, gosh, I love this. It's great. And then the rest of the time, it's just a really hard thing to do.
Yeah. And it's so weird how I just find it strange in more ways than one that one being on set is just like an unreal feeling. Like there's just something about being on set that's like, I love this. I love it. Like, and the other side of it that I realized when we were filming something this summer,
Yeah.
I was just amazed that all of these people are not employees. They are
Yes.
here because they said, I'm going to be here and I want to do film and I'm going to stay up till 3 in the morning and we're going to shoot this with y'all. And it's super duper cold and it's drizzling.
Yeah.
But nobody's going home. Nobody's quitting. Like we all want to be there and no one is making us. And it is the most bizarre thing to me.
Yeah. Well, it just means that they're there for the right reasons. They
Exactly.
have a passion for doing it.
Yeah.
And that's really the only way you'll survive in this business because I mean, I don't want fame. There's nothing wrong with people who do, and I'm not knocking anybody, but I don't want fame. I like the fact that, I don't have everything I say or do put under a microscope because
Yeah.
people don't know who I am. That's great. I just love the craft. I love creating. I love being around other creatives. And particularly in this space where the creatives I'm around are people who are like-minded. It's just, there's nowhere I'd rather be. And thank goodness, because those times in between are really tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, what are some tools and resources like websites, trainings, videos, communities that have helped you in your career?
Well, the short answer is everything and anything. I mean, I think if I tend to approach everything I do this way with just an absolute hunger and thirst for learning. So I got my hands on everything. YouTube's a fantastic resource. Other actors on set. I've had so many people who have been so incredibly gracious with their information and their time with me that I always try to do that and pay that forward, offer to be readers, offer people our guest room. If, sometimes you book, but there's no travel. I'm like, if you book something and you're here, stay with me. You have a
Mhm.
place to stay. I've had so many people who are so gracious. So if somebody's willing to talk and give me their experiences and knowledge, I am listening and I'm taking notes. I think things like if you see a casting on Actors Access and you see who the casting director is, go to social media, start following them. Just casting breakdowns are such a slew of information. I do the same thing with directors. I'll go to IMDb and check out the director. Like, is this somebody I want to work with? Look at some of their work. So, books, articles, websites like Backstage. I'm not on anymore, but they did have decent articles that they publish. Christian casting networks. I mean, just anything and anybody who you can get information from, and then be discerning because there's a lot of bad information out there.
Yeah.
But again, I approach everything this way. I want to hear it all, and then I'll filter it through what I think makes sense and what doesn't. And at the end of the day, I just go with my gut because I
Mhm.
can't tell you how many never do's in auditions you hear, and then I see who booked and they did every one of them.
Yeah.
So there's times that I'm like, yeah, I know you're not supposed to have any prop other than your phone, but prop just makes sense for this. Or I know they want the blank screen, but I'm supposed to be in this setting, which just isn't realistic with the blank. So I'm going to take it to the location. And if they don't love it, they don't
Nice.
love it. And if they do, it's made me stand out, and that's okay.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's good advice. Okay, so shifting over to what made you join the Powerhouse Sisterhood Suite? How did you hear about it first, and then what made you join?
Well, you'll love this answer.
Okay.
So I started watching Vindication and
Oh,
just absolutely loved the show. And I can't remember whether I wound up like on a Vindication Facebook group first, which then Facebook said, hey, you may know Venus Monique. And I friended you. And then I saw you posting about it. And it was an answer to my prayers because I have Not as many people as I'd like, but some people in my life who are saved. And I have not as many as I'd like, but some people in my life in film, but I don't have any that are both. And they're the two
Mm,
most important parts of my life. And I just didn't have anybody to talk to about it. Like, I think I just reached out in the suite and told a story about the pro life commercial I just shot and some things that happened that I could tell other people, and I know they would pretend to be interested, but they just wouldn't get it. They wouldn't
yeah.
understand how incredible that was. So having people who just understand that I love film and why you love film, and that it's not that we're narcissistic or that we just want to be famous. It's that it's a creative process we love, but that at the top of everything is I'm doing it for the kingdom. And if
Yeah.
it I don't care what a great opportunity is, it's not a great opportunity if it isn't beneficial to the kingdom and if I don't feel like I'm serving him. So
Mhm.
having everybody in the group be of that mindset is so refreshing because there is so much that's opposite of that in the film world.
Yeah.
So I
Mhm,
think
mhm.
the word I used over and over on my application was fellowship. I mean, really, that's what I was looking for. If we wind up helping each other out and giving each other opportunities, oh, that's fantastic. That's like the cherry on top. But just having that fellowship, the group of people who pray for each other and who understand what we're up against, that is priceless.
Mhm. So true. And I haven't asked this before, but what's like one of your favorite parts of the suite?
Well, for me, it was undoubtedly it was the retreat.
Oh.
I can't tell you how just at home and supported and happy I felt being there. And it just, I think it was meant to be because I joined the suite after you had already had everybody sign up for it and there were no spots open. And I was so disappointed. I was trying to make myself feel better about it. But I'm like, okay, well, they'll do one next year, but I don't want it next year. I want it now. And then somebody had to drop out. And I was like, yes, 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 I'd like to go. And that financially we can't do a lot of the conferences and things, but I had a travel credit that for a flight my husband had to cancel, so I was able to use that. So I mean, just everything aligned, and it was my favorite 4 days of being away from home ever. I mean, it was just such a wonderful time.
Yay. Oh, that makes me so happy. And I love that. I love that you like just joined and then it was like, "Oh, you're coming to the retreat and we get to meet you in person already so soon." I love it. It was
It
so
is how I
good.
tend to do things. I'm like, okay, oh, I'm on. All right, I'm on. I'm in.
Yeah. Love, love, love. Okay, so being a Christian in the film industry, is there anything that you do or don't do because of your faith?
Yeah, there's plenty I don't do. I mean, the big ones are I'm a married woman. I'm not kissing anybody else. I'm not simulating sex. I'm not doing anything like that. I've hugged another man in a scene. I guess my kind of mindset is if I would do it in front of my husband, then I'll do it. So we have close male friends who I hug and give a peck on the cheek. And, it's just a sign of adoration. I do that in front of him. So I don't feel at all awkward doing that in a scene. But anything beyond that, I'm not doing because even though it's my character doing it, at the end of the day, it's me doing it. And that's
Mhm.
just,
Yeah.
it's not right. And I don't knock anybody else who does. If you can separate it for yourself, that's fine. I think you had said in your podcast with Jacqueline that you'll drink in a scene because you're not actually drinking the alcohol, and you will be a drunk in the scene if the gist of the story is that that's a bad thing. You just don't want to promote it. And that's sort
Mm.
of where I am. I mean, I don't mind being in movies that curse. I don't curse. And I've had directors be really, really respectful of me saying, hey, can I change that line? I don't curse. But I'm okay if other characters do, if they're comfortable doing it and it goes with the story. I just don't want to glamorize things that are against the kingdom. So, drug addicts being in there, if the gist of it is, turn to the Lord, he will help you, he will lift you up, and you can beat this addiction. That's fantastic. I mean, how these are real world things that people are up against. And if Christian movies are only like cupcakes and unicorns, we're not
Right.
serving anybody.
Mhm.
But I won't glamorize things. And I've
Mhm.
unfortunately been booked for movies that I thought were one type of movie, got the full script, and had to say, I'm sorry, but I need to pull myself out of this. I can't do it.
Mhm. Those are the times when it's like, oh, such a bummer because I was either looking forward to this size role or I was looking forward to working with these people or whatever it was. And then it's like, oh, no, I don't get to do any of it. But our conscience is clear and that's what matters.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. How do you practically build your relationship with Jesus as you pursue your acting? Like when you fit in Bible reading, Bible studies, church, all of that?
Well, I mean, church is easy. It's just, we go on Sunday. I volunteer one service and we go to the other one. Bible reading, I started. So I've done lots of different Bible studies, but I've never started on page one and went straight through because the Bible isn't chronological. So
Mhm.
usually Bible studies kind of jump around a bit. And it actually started because I said something to my husband. He had said, I've never read the whole Bible. And I'm like, you haven't? He's like, well, have you? And I'm like, I wonder if I have it because I started at page one and gone to the end. I'm like, well, I should do that. So I just started a couple of weeks ago. I just started Deuteronomy today. So I'm through the hardest ones. It is not easy getting through
No.
Exodus and Numbers. And, I'm an animal person. A lot of animals don't make it through those chapters. So it's been hard for me. Um, but it's amazing to me, even though a lot of it is names, a lot of it is things that is not necessarily relatable to my everyday. It's been very shocking to me how grounding it is for me to start my day every day by reading a few pages. And it just calms me, and it's a very I don't know, kind of interesting thing because the words I'm reading, unlike the gospel, that everything's just a gem, a lot of it isn't really relating to my daily life, but yet I still get such a calm and centeredness from reading it. So that's been wonderful. And then so you were the person who I was bringing the gift for or to the retreat for. And I had ordered this lovely prayer journal that they said would come on the day before I was supposed to leave. And they bumped it to the day after I left. So when I got home, I was going to return it. And I just kept looking at it. And I'm like, I think I'm going to do this. And that's been lovely. So I start my day by reading the Bible, and then I fill out the prayer journal either afterwards or I do it at the end of the day, just kind of reflecting back on the day. And it's become a non negotiable for me. I won't go to bed until those things are done. And I think it's like anything else. If you don't not brush your teeth, or you don't not take your shower, if it's built into your day and it's a non-negotiable, you will make time. And it has made everything else in my day infinitely better. So I'd say that. And I have a kind of open communication, sort of like my teenage girls on FaceTime with their friends for 8 hours a day. That's how I talk to Jesus. It's just all day long. Oh, what should I do with this, or thank you for that, or yes, I know I need to work on that.
Mhm. Yep, I hear ya. Love it. I love all of this. Okay, so a couple more questions. For somebody who is in acting, they're kind of feeling stuck wherever they are in their career, what advice would you give them, or what has helped you in yours?
I think just well, two things. One, there are definitely seasons in this, and I was just talking to actually the actress who had booked the role that I had auditioned for, and she was feeling so low. And I know we're doing this posting challenge, and I don't feel weird posting for any reason other than because I do look at this as a business. And
Yeah.
if you have a tree trimming service, you don't feel weird talking about your tree trimming. So I don't feel weird posting for any reason other than I have been the one seeing somebody else's like booked and busy when I'm in a slow season. And I don't hold it against them, but it does sort of dig a little bit. And I don't want to be that to somebody else.
Mhm.
She was so sweet. She actually reached out to me and said, I'm so happy for you, but man, it's bumming me out. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad she didn't just hold that in,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I hadn't had a chance to tell her that when we were on set, she was behind. It took place in a jail, and she was behind in a soundproof room, and I was standing next to the director waiting for us to start the scene again. And I heard the director talking about how much she had nailed her self tape and how great she's doing. And I was still filming when she left, so I never really got to tell her that. And I
Yeah.
said, do not question your ability. I'm like, you remember how we met? You got the role I wanted. And man, when I saw you on set, I'm like, oh yeah, she deserved it. She was great. So there are seasons. She,
Mhm.
I'm sure, was feeling great when she booked that, and it's been a little slow, and she's starting to doubt herself. I think the more times you go through those ebbs and valleys, you say, you know what, I've been here before, and it bounces up. So you just sort of gain that wisdom to say, it's going to be like this. And I take that time to do the things I should be doing, cleaning up my socials, updating my footage, updating my resume, cleaning my house, doing all the things I neglect when I'm busy. But the other one is, if you're stuck, change something. Kind of
Mhm.
like anything else that you do in life, if you're if you want something to change, you have to change something. So if
Mhm.
you've been going about it the same exact way over and over, try something a little different and see if that works for you. If nothing, as you know, as long as they're positive steps, like I'm into murder mystery dinner theaters. It's how I keep my improv chops alive and well. And it's, I mean, it doesn't pay well compared to film, but
Yeah.
I'm around other creatives and it's just somewhere to be. And I've made contacts that way. That's not why I did it, but I did. And it's opened some doors. So I think just do something different.
Ooh, that's good. It's good. Okay, we're gonna end this with, what is your favorite book or your favorite quote?
Well, my favorite book's the Bible.
What?
Yeah, I mean,
It's a
and
good one.
it's a good one. I mean, can't imagine another book that could be so applicable to absolutely everything that has happened, will happen, is happening. So it would be hard for any other book to compete with that. And my favorite quote, gosh, I mean, I don't know that I have one favorite. Um, it sort of changes. I again going back to the Bible, it just seems like whatever I'm going through, I hear a scripture quote, you know, within that period of time, that day, that week, that I'm like, oh, I think that was meant for me. And of
Mm,
course, it wasn't written just for me; it applies to everybody. But it never seems to fail. Somebody will, you know, put a Facebook post up with a bit of scripture, or, you know, our pastor will be preaching, and I'm like, pretty sure you just said that directly to me.
mhm.
So I just think that scripture is so unbelievable how it can just speak to us personally and apply to 100 people in different ways at the same exact time.
Yeah. So true. So, so true. Okay, Kathy, you're awesome. Where can we find you on social media?
So I'm Kathy A. Bates because I don't know if anybody's heard. There's another actress, I guess, named Kathy Bates. She's done a few things here or there, maybe. I don't know. So I am Kathy A. Bates on Facebook and on Instagram and on IMDb.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect. So we can go follow you there, and I will also put your links in the description of this video. So
that sounds great.
cool. Any final thoughts? You feel good?
Oh, I know. I feel great. It was lovely talking to you. I'm a huge
Yay.
fan. If you didn't gather, that's how I got to the Powerhouse Sisterhood Suite. I know a lot of people join because they have friends who've joined, and I actually have referred you to several people. They're sort of like struggling actors at this time, so they're like, I want to. Let me see if I can do it." I'm like, "You won't regret it. It's been
Mhm.
wonderful." Like it's educational in addition to being uplifting personally, and the friendships I've made. I have women all over the country praying for my family and things. And I mean, just knowing that is, it's huge. It is just, I walk around with a peace that I didn't have before joining. So,
Oh, that's so good. I love that. And the cool thing too is like it's not a year-long commitment. It's just come try it for a month. If you don't like it, you can help out whenever you want.
but you will. I'm just
Right.
being
You
honest with
hopefully.
anybody listening. I need to figure out how to make this work because I don't want to give it up. Not that
Yeah.
the ladies would still be our friends and would still be wonderful. I know everybody who I've met will be in my life, but yeah, I just
Mhm.
don't want to miss it.
Yeah, I hear you. Cool. I love it. All right, Kathy, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.